Excellent! Now that Transformers 3 has been greenlit, we need to choose the next Autobot cast. So, sir, are we just adding the Autobots from the last movie? Of course, Jimmy! All the ones that didn't die! Sir, for the last time, my name is Gary. I know what your name is, Jerome! But anyways, who's in the movie so far? Let me see. Optimus, Bumblebee, Ratchet, Ironhide, the RCs. No, they died. Did they? Yes, Jimmy! Did you not watch the movie? It was so obvious! Okay. Oh yeah, we should probably get that Jolt guy to come back as well. Who are you talking about, sir? You know, the blue guy! You mean this guy? Yeah, let's get him on board. Sir, I'm sorry to tell you this, but our agent tried making contact with him, and he declined to come back. What? Why would he do that? Who wouldn't want to be in a Michael Bay movie? Well...
I was promised to appear in the second movie for more than 1 minute. This is not 1 minute.
Oh well, Sir Bay said that if you do come back, he's gonna give you more screen time.
Well, you can tell that son of a glitch to go
Needless to say, he wasn't very happy. This is terrible! We need someone to replace that blue guy, if there was only another egghead Autobot we could use. Hey guys, I heard you guys are holding auditions for the next Transformers movie. My name's Wheeljack, I'm a classic G1 character, and I think I'll be more than qualified. No way, no yes! Yeah, question, are those ear fins important to you? They're kind of my identity, but I guess I can take them off. And excellent, you're hired. Now, question, how do you feel about blue painted Albert Einstein? Hey guys, the Fiber this here. Welcome to what is essentially a video on Wheeljack. The full story of Wheeljack in the live-action movies. Again, another patron requested video by TF Cypher. All the praise or blame should be thrown his way. One of my most talked about subjects is missing characters from the movies, you know, characters that were planned out to be in the movie at one point or another, but were unfortunately cut. Something I usually don't talk about, however, is the characters that are in the movie and their full backstory, because surprisingly enough, the movie doesn't really tell you everything about them. Like how RC is single-handedly responsible for winning the war for the Autobots, Starscream's little civil war against Megatron in the in-between Revenge of the Fallen and Dark of the Moon, and how a mad Decepticon scientist basically fried Mudflap and Skit's brains, turning them into what we know them as now.
Why don't you get a haircut with your bitch ass? Go whine to your boyfriend.
This info is told to us through other outside media besides the movies, like comics, toys, toy bios, and stuff like that help paint a better picture of the universe and what these characters are all about. And today, on the second episode of this series, and yes, I say second episode because the first episode was on Hightower. Link to the playlist so you guys can check out that video, because this guy actually has some pretty interesting lore. It's gonna be in the description down below. In today's video, we'll be talking about Wheeljack, and specifically we're gonna be going over the Bayverse version, so the Rise of the Beast and Pablo. I won't go over that because they don't have enough of backstory or info on them for me to make a solid video, but the Bayverse one does, so this is the one we'll be sticking to. So we'll start at the beginning. So our story starts, strangely enough, with the Fallen. The dynasty of Primes basically ruled over all of Cybertron for millions of years, until the Fallen did his whole betrayal thing and think he was banished, and then the rest of the Primes did the whole dying thing, which essentially left Cybertron leaderless and in a state of chaos, since without the Primes, the different Cybertronians there is split into different tribes, all fighting for control over who should rule Cybertron. This quote-unquote warring state period will last for quite a long time until eventually we cut back to the present day, where at one point Wheeljack will be born and live his life mostly on the run, trying to avoid the fighting between the different Cybertronian tribes. During his spare time, Wheeljack would put most of his focus into the laws of physics, believing that laws were made to be broken. He dedicated his life to pushing the limits of science. More often than not, Wheeljack's inventions would fail spectacularly, but if and when they succeeded, they could change the course of millions of lives. Wheeljack's inventions became so renowned amongst the Cybertron population that several Cybertronian tribes rushed to recruit him. It is at one point where he will be approached by Sentinel Prime himself, who claimed to be a descendant of the 13 Primes, and tried to enlist the young mechanics' services in order to bring a new dawn to Cybertron and end the warring states period for good. At some point later in the future, Wheeljack played a pivotal role in Sentinel Prime's grand plan to save save their dying planet, which was running low on resources. They were gonna teleport a star right next to Cybertron that they could use to power the planet and power the Allspark once again, cementing Sentinel Prime as Cybertron's de facto leader. While Wheeljack worked on finishing the machine, Sentinel's warriors held off an attack by the heretic group known as the Tekken, led by Ironhide. Once the device was linked to the Allspark, it warped time and space, teleporting a sun into Cybertron in space. The sun's energy revitalized the Allspark, bringing life and energy back to Cybertron, and Wheeljack calmly remarked that it looks like they saved the world. After restoring life and energy back to Cybertron, the many different factions came together to unify under Sentinel Prime's banner, since his faction essentially saved the whole world from starvation. And Wheeljack stood right next by Sentinel Prime's side as he addressed the collective populace of Cybertron on a day that will later be known as Unification Day. He stood there proudly, listening as Sentinel Prime said that Cybertron will now be governed by two separate divisions, the Science Division led by Optimus, and the Defense Force under Megatron's command. Naturally, Wheeljack elected to join the former, but little did he know that peace wouldn't last. Many years later, Wheeljack was with Sentinel Prime and Elita 1 at one of the division's archaeological digs when they came under attack from Megatron's forces, which he had reformed into the Decepticons, with the intent of seizing control of the planet. The newly named Optimus Prime then arrived and rallied those who opposed Megatron under the banner of Autobots, which Wheeljack promptly joined. War will then ravage Cybertron, and the Autobots and Decepticons will fight for millennia. At the beginning of the war, the Autobots were badly outgunned by the Decepticons, and their numbers were few. However, according to the toy bios, Wheeljack is credited with single-handedly keeping the Autobots in the fight for as long as they did, thanks to his brilliant mind and the help of those who were brave enough to serve as volunteers for Wheeljack's extremely dangerous experiments. The Autobots managed to gain an edge on their equipment, and Autobot weaponry even at some point became even more effective than that of the Decepticons, something that can't be felt even all the way till the last night. At one point during the final days of the war, Sentinel Prime presented the Autobots with a mysterious torch he had invented that will somehow end the war. An Autobot strike team under Optimus assaulted Sanford Temple in order to activate the torch by bringing it into contact with the Allspark, while Wheeljack stayed behind with Sentinel Prime's side to deal with all the technical aspects of such an endeavor. Elita 1 then soon arrived with the activated torch, at which point Sentinel ordered a reluctant Wheeljack to take the first arc, and yes, they built two arcs. There's the arc the Autobots use, and then there's the arc from the film. Yeah, I know, it's a bit contrived. Wheeljack then went on and collected the other Autobots from their base at Tiger Pass, while Sentinel himself took the torch and went to pick up Optimus' team aboard his own arc. Consequently, Sentinel's arc and all aboard were apparently destroyed by the Decepticons Starscream and in a last desperate attempt, the Ark tried to flee Cybertron, only for it to be seemingly destroyed, alongside its crew. However, unknowns to everyone, Sentinel Prime had actually used the pillars to teleport the Ark away from Cybertron, its final destination unknown for the time being. Optimus was pretty furious at the death of his mentor, so Optimus enacted a new plan. While he kept Megatron busy, Wheeljack took the rest of the Autobots and attacked Sanford Temple again, overwhelming the weakened Decepticons there and capturing the Allspark. The cube was removed from the machine Wheeljack had invented, which caused Cybertron's sun to disappear, dooming the planet to starve once again. And then the Allspark was promptly launched into space in order to keep it away from the Decepticons, something which saddened Wheeljack greatly, seeing his inventions that were meant to save the planet now be discarded and destroyed. All the progress they made over 1,000 years had just seemingly been taken away overnight. But eventually, as Cybertron's resources began depleting more and more, Wheeljack alongside many other Autobots left the planet in search for the Allspark, hoping that they can find it once again to restore their planet to its former glory. Years will pass, and unfortunately, the Allspark will have been destroyed in the Battle of Mission City. Optimus will send a message to space, inviting other Autobots to come to Earth and join him and the other Autobots, acknowledging that without the Allspark, there is no point returning back to Cybertron, and their efforts are better spent protecting the planet. At some point after the year 2009, Wheeljack will arrive to Earth, where him and Mirage joined Ness, and were assigned to a unit station in Washington, D.C. Wheeljack aided the Autobots mostly behind the scenes while he stayed on Earth. In fact, it is strongly hinted that the mech-type weapons from Dark of the Moon and even Stealth Force itself is basically Wheeljack's creation. It's never outright stated, but it does seem to be that way, but it is heavily implied that that's the case. During the leading years to the events of Dark of the Moon, Wheeljack will make a virus that the Autobots will later use to hack Decepticon transmission, something that will later force Soundwave to land on Earth, since the virus essentially messed with the Decepticons' communications, instead staying on space was no longer advantageous. A few days later after this event, he had Nest forces deliver one of his new weapons to Ironhide. As the latter was having troubles battling the Decepticons on Detroit, the gun Wheeljack sent enabled Ironhide to destroy Mixmaster's shields, leaving the Decepticon vulnerable and ultimately resulting in his death. When a huge Decepticon battalion attacked Sam Witwicky's school in Philadelphia, they arrived just in time to help Bumblebee fight off the Decepticons. Wheeljack, ever the scientist, had invented a new powerful force shield that he used to shield Sam and other human bystanders as they ran away from the battle. The trio of Bumblebee, Wheeljack, and Mirage held the line against an oncoming onslaught of Decepticon forces. They were just about to be overwhelmed, but just at the last moment, the cavalry arrived led by Optimus Prime. The Autobots and human reinforcements quickly turned the tide of the battles, and as the Autobots were getting the upper hand, they noticed that the Decepticons were starting to flee. Prime then ordered Wheeljack to extend his force field in order to keep the Decepticons from escaping. But before Wheeljack had a chance to, Shockwave arrived on the battlefield and killed the leader one. He then aimed his gun at Wheeljack and shot a powerful blast onto Wheeljack, severely damaging him. Luckily, Wheeljack managed to remain functional enough to complete his recalibration, managing to trap Shockwave inside the force field with a very unhappy Optimus Prime after he just murdered his kinda girlfriend. Optimus then beat Shockwave to a bloody pulp, but before he could finish him off, he was rescued by the Driller, taking him away back to Megatron. Ratchet then examined Wheeljack's broken body, and he told Optimus that Wheeljack could be repaired, but unfortunately the damage was too severe, and he will likely end up looking very different once he's repaired. And in case you guys are wondering, yes, that's the reason why he has the Einstein look. He was damaged to the point of near death, and in order to be repaired, they kinda had to do basically facial reconstruction surgery on him. Why they make him look like Einstein is beyond me, but then again, Ratchet is kind of a crappy doctor. As a member of the Nest Strike team, Wheeljack kind of changed his name to Q. It's not really explain why he did that, but he did, and okay. And as part of the strike team, he will pose as the Iranian defense minister's vehicle to cross the checkpoint. Once he and the others reach an illegal nuclear facility, he and Bumblebee, Sideswipe, and Dino investigated and destroyed it, the latter taking the nuclear material from the base and bringing it back to Nest for future use and experiments. Later, at Nest's new base of operations in Washington, D.C., Wheeljack provided yet again another weapons upgrade for Ironhide, recalibrating his guns from the Detroit operation, making them stronger and deadlier. When all of a sudden, the National Intelligence Director, Charlotte Meering, arrived. He politely introduced himself and informed them that Optimus was in a bad mood. He stood mostly in the background as his fellow Autobots observed Optimus berate the government officials for keeping the wreckage of the Ark a secret from the Autobots. Weeks later, and as the events of the film progressed with Sentinel's betrayal, the Decepticons teleporting a small army to Earth, and their ultimatum to humanity to exile the Autobots or, be invaded, the Autobots were ordered to be exiled from Earth by the government on Sentinel Prime's demands, and he was present during Optimus Prime and Bumblebee's final farewell to the humans. Him and the rest of the Autobots will abort the ship, and will later try to leave the Earth in it. However, shortly after launch, Starscream attacked the Sentient and destroyed the ship, presumably killing Wheeljack and all the other Autobots inside of it. However, the Autobots had secretly planned for this, so they hid inside one of the shuttle's booster rockets, which had detached shortly before Starscream's attack. Wheeljack then went alongside his comrades into the midst of Decepticon-occupied Chicago. Before the Autobots went off to battle, Wheeljack gave Sam Witwicky and the other humans newly made anti-Decepticon weaponry that he had especially designed for them, telling them that
they're great inventions for kicking ass.
At some point, Wheeljack and the other Autobots were overwhelmed and captured. He was taken hostage alongside Bumblebee, Sideswipe, Dino, and Ratchet. At Dylan's prodding, Samway decided to make trophies of the prisoners, starting with Wheeljack. Barricade then pushed Wheeljack forward, telling him that his time was up. Despite Wheeljack's pleas for mercy, he was shot in the chest by a Decepticon protoform, then falling to the ground on his knees in pain, asking why they were doing this, before Barricade shot him in the back and killed him. His death left Bumblebee in severe distraught, mourning the loss of his friend, while Barricade added insult to injury by laughing at him. Soundwave even pushed Bumblebee onto Wheeljack's corpse as a way to torment him before his own execution. However, Bumblebee will avenge the death of his friend by killing Soundwave shortly thereafter. And a short while later, the humans will use Wheeljack's creations to damage Barricade, though the latter will later survive. 5 years later, after the Battle of Chicago, Wheeljack was listed as deceased by the CIA Task Force Cemetery Wind, and presumably his damaged body will later be collected by the KSI company and melted into scrap in order to create a new drone army, which the Autobots will later destroy. Now, there is a few more different versions of Wheeljack. In the 2007 game for the PSP, Wheeljack was his own character and even has some story relevance. I was thinking of talking about that version, but in all honesty, I kind of just wanted to focus on the main canonical interpretations of Wheeljack, because this Wheeljack is not canon, and also Wheeljack also makes a little cameo in the DS version of Transformers the game, where he apparently is responsible for upgrading the Create Bug so that he could store the data of multiple vehicle forms and transform into the ones he wished for the duration of that game. Interestingly enough, Wheeljack, or Q, by the point of Dark of the Moon, has the Einstein head, which I guess it was done just to make him look smart, like, hey, this is supposed to be the smart guy of the team, you know, which I kinda don't like. I still think the set is probably a little better than Pablo, because, I mean, at least it kinda fits the whole Babers aesthetic. Pablo's just, you know, Pablo. However, did you know that that's actually not his final form? Now, if the toys are to be believed, and primarily I mean the movie Advanced series and the movie Trilogy series, Wheeljack actually has his G1 head and he can use it at any time. MPX Graphics even made a little like animation of how it should look like had it actually been in the movie. And while this only remains a toy exclusive thing, I do find it very interesting that the later interpretations of Wheeljack gave him the G1 head, while still keeping the quote-unquote Q body. And in all honesty, you guys might be saying that this is probably not canon, it was probably just done because they has wanted to release a new toy. And yes, I can totally see it, but the thing is that if you think of it from a logical standpoint, this actually makes a whole lot of sense, because think about it. Wheeljack is not much of a fighter, or at least he doesn't get portrayed as much of a fighter. He's mostly with the Autobots because of his, you know, technical know-how. The other comics and even the movie seem to imply that he can actually be of use in the battlefield, because there's a reason why the Autobots brought him along to Chicago, because if Wheeljack was one of those Autobots that wasn't meant for fighting, they wouldn't have brought him along. He would have probably stayed back, or like at least not taking a frontline role, which we actually see him do in the movie, like at the beginning on the power plant infiltration and then later in Chicago. So I do think that Wheeljack is supposed to be a fighter. It's not that he's just like this weak old man. Like, don't let the looks deceive you. The dude is packed with guns on his back, and I do think that this is somewhat canon. And I say somewhat because there's no way to confirm it. I choose to believe it's canon. It's probably headcanon, a bit headcanon-ish if you want to believe that, because I think it just makes sense. I don't know why the Transformers movies are so allergic of giving Wheeljack his G1 head. It's a cool looking head, it's iconic. You can even save on animation by just having his ear fins glow. If anything, this set is perfect for Transformers. I don't know why Rise of the Beast and Michael Bay were like so eager to take that away from him. It honestly kind of pisses me off. I know it seems like a very petty thing to like be angry at, but I am not exactly angry, I am just
absolutely livid.
Also, fun fact, apparently originally Wheeljack was gonna survive Dark of the Moon, because the comics and even the animatic showed that Mirage/Dino was originally the one that was gonna get killed. So maybe had Dino been killed and Wheeljack survived, maybe you could have gotten to see him in a more action-y role, you know, actually equipping the G1 head and participating in the final battle with the Autobots. Like, that could have been actually really neat. And also, another unused concept for Wheeljack, and this is shown in the novelization, he was run off the Chicago streets and into the river by the Driller, where he was torn apart by Decepticon soldiers lying in wait for him. Which that's actually kinda brutal. Wheeljack, he either gets mercilessly shot down, disfigured, torn apart. Like, my man Wheeljack went through some real heavy shit.
I just can't do it. I can't take this shit no more, man.
But yeah, guys, that is the full story of Wheeljack. And you know what? Looking at his humble beginnings as a regular nobody, just, you know, tinkering with machinery, to having his adventures kind of save Cybertron, but then later, you know, having to be destroyed for the greater good and then just making weapons of war non-stop. I think there was some serious potential with Wheeljack as a character here. Like, maybe they could have gone the Tony Stark route. Maybe, you know, after, you know, centuries of making weapons of war that, you know, are just meant for killing, maybe he gets sick of it and maybe just wants to make inventions that kind of helps humanity or are not, you know, so dangerous. There is some really good story potential here, but at least from what I've seen, you know, from reading the novels, the comics, and all of that, Wheeljack just seems to, you know, go wherever the wind takes him. The Autobots need a super weapon? Okay, here's your super weapon. We need a way off the Earth? Say no more, I'm gonna work on the Sanctuary. The humans need some better weaponry to deal with the Decepticons? Well, here you go, have some loot drop. The way Wheeljack has been treated in the Babyverse seems to be more akin to that of a plot device. He's the guy that gets things done. We need a weapon, he's the one that does it. You need a weapon, he's your guy. But in terms of a character, he doesn't really have much. Part of me thinks that instead of having Wheeljack in Dark for the Movie Girl, having him just be Jolt. Because I mean, Jolt and Wheeljack just look so alike. I think they reused some of Jolt to even make Wheeljack. Because aside from the aspect of being a scientist, like, Wheeljack in the movie universe doesn't have much of a character to himself. He seems to be an overall cool guy that, you know, just wants to help people, but unfortunately gets wrapped into these situations that require him to use science in a more, you know, military type of way. And there's a lot of room there to explore his character and how he feels about, you know, weapons of war. He's basically Oppenheimer. He basically saved Cybertron, doomed Cybertron, and then spent the rest of the war just making weapons that killed more of his kind. And even that technology fell into the Decepticons, because then the Decepticons started using Stealth Force and started using mech-tech weapons. It's like, there's so much here for a good character, for a good and interesting character, but they don't take advantage of it. Say what you want about Hightower, but Hightower was a very, you know, means to an end. He's just part of Devastator. He's just there to fill in the role of another Decepticon and, you know, just be used to fight the other of us and merge into Devastator. But Wheeljack has so much potential here. Yes, and I did make a wasted potential on Wheeljack, and I talked more about it there, but my god, so much wasted potential here. Oh god, I want to go back to the wasted potential scale and like just, you know, bump up Wheeljack a bit more, because oh my god, I feel like there was really something here. We were this close to greatness, but no. Wheeljack just dies unceremoniously, and that's the end of that. Honestly, it really should have been Ratchet. But yeah guys, that's it for this video. Hopefully you all enjoy. You know, it was fun revisiting Wheeljack's story because Wheeljack's one of those characters I kind of just forget about, especially in the Bayverse. But after looking at his story, I'm like, he actually did quite a lot and accomplished quite a lot. I just wish he had more of a character, because the potential of a great deep character is there. Like, the man's literally Oppenheimer. But unfortunately, the authors of the comics, the novels, developers of the game, and even Michael Bay himself, which no one's surprised, didn't seem to be that eager to explore that side of his character. Here's hoping that ongoing forward, whenever we see the real Wheeljack, they'll do something better with him. But yeah, that's where Wheeljack's story ends. But let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments down below. What did you think of Wheeljack? Did you think that he was an actually good character? Do you think he had a lot of wasted potential? What would you have done with him had you been in charge of, you know, rewriting his history in the Bayverse? And do you think that Wheeljack should have lived and Mirage should have died? Personally, I do think that's the case. Mirage already had an action scene and he seemed like a really cool character, but Wheeljack never really got his big moment in Dark of the Moon. So I really would have liked him to survive all the way to the final battle and even see him equipped like his battle mode by the end of the film. But hey, it is what it is. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Do the annoying YouTuber stuff that the algorithm likes so much. And I will see you guys in the next video. Stay safe, guys. Anyways guys, before we go, shout out to our incredible sex tier Patreons: Steve Martin, Primeburst 611, Inferno 65, Wingsolopes Hightower, Scout, Crowley 666, Silverman, King Sparta, Super Sailor Formers Hedgehog, Xavier the God, Stage Productions, Scrub Lordo, Night Trance Official, and Predaking Hunter Plays. And an equally great shout out to our channel members: Shin Leviathan Dragon, TF Cypher, and Laser Sin. Thank you guys so much for donating. Is much appreciated. Link to my Patreon and channel membership will be in the description down below. Consider donating because you get a few perks and see some videos early, even collab with me in some cases. The list goes on. But anyways guys, thank you for your support, helps to keep the channel going, and I will see you all in the next video. Stay safe guys!